Is Daniel Film for Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat in Manchester at the final press conference for Joe Joyce with Joseph Parker this Saturday night. I'm joined by a surprising feast to see up here. I don't see the Sky Sports standards, but I do see the head of Sky Sports Boxing, Adam Smith. Adam, how are you?
Very good, yeah, I wouldn't have missed this for the world. It's a chance, first of all, to support Joe Parker, obviously, he's one of our fighters, but it's a great fight, and I'm a big fan, admirer of Joe Joyce. I've known him for a long, long time. He's a great guy. They're both great guys, and Joe Parker was. I was very behind the push to Ben Shalom to sign Joe Parker up, because I think at 30, and I think he's improving under Andy Lee, and he's on the back of a few wins. I think he's still got a great part to play in this heavyweight division. I think he can become a two-time heavyweight champion. But this is a tough fight, and obviously I'd like to have started on Sky, and we could have maybe put him as the A side and give him a little bit of an easier sort of welcome. But he didn't want it. Neither did Joe Joyce. And yeah, in a funny way, that's great. It's great for fight fans. It's a shame it's not on Sky, but it's on BT Sport Box Office. Well done, Ben and George and Frank, for getting it together. And it's just a terrific fight between two top-ranked WBO contenders for an interim title, and they'll get a shot at maybe Alexander Usyk or whoever holds the belts next year. But yeah, very important fight for heavyweight boxing, and I'm glad I came up.
I'm not sure how privy you were to the negotiations, but there seemed the time, sort of maybe 3 months ago, that this fight seemed dead in the water. You know, Parker had signed with yourselves at Sky, but then all of a sudden things got resolved very quickly. Can you shed any insight as to how this fight got made and how such a seemingly tumultuous relationship got repaired so quickly?
A little bit of friendly discussion behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm in a position where obviously I work for Sky Sports and I'm with Boxer, but also if I can help out to try and sort of pacify things and just help situations, I like to do that, because I'm a fight fan just like you are and everybody else out there is, and we want to see the best fights. We haven't got Eubank Ben, we didn't have Golovkin and Canelo, we don't have this one. We've got some great fights to come, by the way, and we're going to be announcing a few really good shows before the end of the year soon, and the Clarissa Shields Savannah Marshall show probably tops the lot. But I'm a fight fan, and I like to see these fights happen for the good of the sport, and I think this is one of them. So yeah, but ultimately it was down to Frank, George, David, Ben, everybody to make sure it did happen. The fighters wanted it, that's the key. I always say it's the key when the fighters want it. I know Anthony and Tyson want to fight. Now it's down to the people around them to give them their wish. And sometimes it's not that easy with different broadcasters and different splits and all the rest of it, of course. Big fights are tough to make. But this one was nearly made, and then Joe came to us in a sort of slightly strange move probably for them, but ultimately we managed to help repair it, and we got the fight on. And if Joe Parker wins, we'll have a fight on Sky, a rematch. That'd be great. And if he doesn't, then Joe will come back to us, and there's huge amounts of fights that we can get him involved in. And I think this is going to be tight and close, and a really interesting fight. So I think both the winner and loser will come on for it, and if it's a great fight, they can dance again.
To the nitty-gritty of the fight itself, a lot of people see it as the sort of, your man Joseph Parker being the more skilled, the faster hands, the faster feet, but he's up against the juggernaut, perfectly nicknamed Juggernaut. Joe Joyce, just relentless, seems an impenetrable chin and an unemptying gas tank. Do you see it the same way? It's sort of slightly slicker skills of Parker against just the brute force and relentless pressure of Joe Joyce?
I think that's the sort of right way to look at it. However, I think people underestimate Joe Joyce's skills as well. People saying he's got zero ability and zero skills is just ludicrous, because he was a terrific amateur himself, and I think Daniel Dubois will tell you what his jab's like. So I think Joe can box, but we know what he does best, which is that relentless come forward juggernaut style with a great chin, and he's a big man. So traditionally you'd think, well, power's got to be there to stop him, to hold him in his tracks. And does Joe Parker have that sort of natural fighting power in the armory? Maybe not. I think what they've got to do, Andy Lee and Joe, and I'm sure they've worked on that, because Andy's really had time now with Joe Joyce, and you can see the improvements in the second Chisora fight. I think that he's got to utilise his legs. I think he's got to be really fast, really sharp. I think he's got to be in and out, darting, utilising the ring, judging that distance beautifully. What better man to have than Tyson Fury in your stable to help you along? But he's got to do that from beginning to end. I think he can do that in the early rounds. It's whether he can sustain it. I think Andy's going to be really important out that corner to keep his mind on. Joe Parker can switch off at times, and we know Joe Joyce won't. So yeah, I do see it a little bit like that as a sort of basic look at it. I think it will, stylistically gel well, and I think it will be close, and I think it will go the whole way. Whether Joe Parker can sustain it, for Andy to say it's an easy fight, he can make it easy. Yes, he can if he outboxes him at distance and gets in and out and frustrates Joe. But has he got the power? Has he got the power to keep Joyce off him and distract him and make Joe Joyce worry? I'm not sure, and that could be a problem for Parker. So listen, it's a fascinating fight, and I don't know. It's too tough to call. Obviously, it'd be great for Boxer and Sky if Joe Parker comes through with the W, with the victory. We're all behind him. But ultimately, if you're asking me, with my hats off, and it's a very, very tough fight for Joe Parker, and it's a tough fight for Joe Joyce. And I think Joyce is rightfully a slight favourite.
I think that's one of the signs that we've got such a good fight. Is not only is there such a split in opinion, people can't even decide themselves what their own opinion is. You touched on Fury being Parker's now sort of adopted part of the Fury clan. It all seemed quite positive. All the rumblings about this fight with Anthony Joshua were very good. Both fighters were coming out and saying how much they wanted it, when not as if they're going to go out and say anything else. Things have gone a bit quiet over the last sort of 5 days, coming up to a week now. I know you're not necessarily involved in negotiations. It's sort of the BT, the Zoro, and Matchroom Queensbury thing. But what does your gut tell you about this fight? Do we see it December 3rd?
I really hope we do. And I was very positive about. A week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I was talking to Benga on our boat in the Clarissa Shield Savannah Marshall workout. Obviously, things have changed a great deal in this country since then. Unprecedented scenes and a reflective, emotional time for everybody. And I think obviously that delayed negotiations when they looked like they were really rolling forward. And is there the momentum? Are we close enough to get it to be announced for December the 3rd? I think it's got to happen either by the back end of this week or next week at the very latest. And I'm not sure I'm seeing the same signs as I was a couple of weeks ago. I'm hoping. I really think it's a great fight for the fans, for the fighters. I know both Anthony and Tyson want this fight to happen, but obviously there's a huge amount of red tape, as I've always said, in making big fights. There's broadcasters, there's different sides, which is why this is great that this has come about with Queensbury and Boxer working together. And like we're doing with the Clarissa Shields Michaela Mayer night, we've got Top Rank involved as well with Boxer, and Top Rank are our colleagues too. But then there's Matchroom with Alicia, and we've got Dimitri Salita as well with Clarissa. So there's lots of people involved, and when lots of people are involved, it's always tricky. It's great to see it happen, but it's always tricky, which is amazing why we've lifted and shifted October 15th, and it's absolutely as it is, which is brilliant and so exciting. But I think it's a huge fight, Fury and Joshua. My worry is it didn't get made a couple of years ago, and I was told by Shelley Finkel that there was legalities that Wilder had that was going to stop that. So that wasn't altogether a surprise. But this time, if it doesn't happen, it would be a real disappointment. And there's only so many times I think you can call bluff, can't you? And it's the old riddle, isn't it? How many times do you cry wolf? And I don't know. I just think that the public will start to really not believe it will ever happen if it doesn't happen on December 3rd, and that'll be a real shame for the sport. We always want to see the big fights and the best fights of our generation happen. We don't want to see the heavyweights like Bo and Lewis never fight. We don't need that. We don't want that. We waited a long, long time for Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson, didn't we? And I think the time to make this fight is now. A lot of people would say, AJ's wrong for taking it now, and he needs rehabilitation and time, and maybe there's something to be said for that. But I know Anthony's a competitor. He wants the best fights. He'd go in with Tyson Fury tomorrow. Tyson Fury would go in with Anthony Joshua tomorrow. And I'd appeal. I'm not involved in it, but I'd appeal to Frank, to George, to Bob, to Eddie, to Frank Smith, to Freddie Cunningham, to all of them. I know them all very well. They're all great people. They could all get deals done. But I think that the clock is really ticking now.
We'll wait with our fingers crossed. On the more positive news, Adam, you touched on October 15th, full card, reorganised. I think when it was cancelled due to the passing of the Queen, I think people were saying because it's a boxing event, there's a lot more goes into it. It's not just as simple as reorganising a football event. And there was a real fear we all thought we would see Shields Marshall again, yes, but the whole card, the all-female card, Michaela Mayer, Alicia Baumgartner, as you touched on, all being reorganised at the O2. Just how hard did you at Sky have to work to get that all happening again?
It's almost like force majeure, isn't it? You can't you can't ever comprehend when something like that happens. Unprecedented time. We've had an amazing monarch who's reigned over us for 70 years, iconic figure. And she passes, and there's the tragedy of the nation. I think it was absolutely the right decision by Robert Smith and the board to respectfully just postpone everything. And I think it's really difficult in boxing. You're right. All the fighters work for that moment. They've all got to weigh in. It's not like a team sport. You go again the next week. It's a very different sport. And of course, as you said, there's a lot of organisation to go in, and a lot of money lost as well by Boxer. You had to sort of get everybody over and a lot of this. But I think everybody, respected the decision. It was the right decision. And I think because of that, we've got everything the same sort of 5 weeks on. In October, we go again. It's a celebration night of women's boxing. It was our standout night of the calendar on Sky Sports, not on Box Office, to make sure that we saw the casual fans, everybody were opened up to the brilliance of our women. And I think if it had happened just a couple of days later, I know some sports went on and they had to and some didn't, but I think as far as we went, we want a celebration of women's boxing. We'll get that on October the 15th, and I think it wouldn't have been the same if we'd gone again, so if we'd gone ahead with it. So I think well done to Baz and the Boxer team for getting the O2, well done to our scheduling team to make sure it happened, well done most importantly to all the fighters who didn't weigh in but can come again. They were brilliantly professional. They've gone back, had a few days off, re-engaging now. They're all in the same boat. It's not as though one has now an advantage. They're all in the same boat, and they all come back together. I don't think we'll get on a boat again, by the way. I think we'll all come back together, and we'll have a great week, and hopefully more people will watch it because we're talking about it again. It'll be the second time of asking, and it'll happen on October the 15th. Packed out O2. Cannot wait.
There you have it, folks. Adam Smith, thanks very much for giving us so much of your time. Let you all enjoy the rest of your week in Manchester. Thanks very much.
Thank you. No problem.